Hello, and welcome back to another Motovlog. Another chance to ride around the Lincolnshire countryside once again, but unfortunately we're going to take a bit of a break from riding around the Lincolnshire countryside because winter is now upon us. Now, we've had quite a mild winter so far, but the forecast is of snow showers and minus temperatures, and so I've decided now it's time to pack the old bike away for a few months. So today I'm just going to take a ride down to my local petrol station, or a gas station as some of my American friends say. We're just going to put a couple of gallons of fuel into the tank, because when I put the bike away in the garage, I do like to start it up once or twice a week, just to keep the motor running, just to keep the old oil running round the bores. As it's an oil-cooled motor, I like to keep that oil moving around, and of course to keep the battery topped up as well. Now, I know there's lots of classic car enthusiasts and classic motorcycle enthusiasts out there who like to drain their petrol tanks and remove their batteries, but with me, I like to keep the bike running, so as soon as we get some decent weather, I can bring it back out once again and start using it again. So that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to take a ride down to my local garage, get a couple of gallons of petrol, and ride back home again. Now, I wonder how many more times I can ride down to my local petrol station to fill up before petrol and diesel all disappear, before the petrol stations all make way for electric charging stations for electric vehicles. And here in the UK, of course, we've got 8 years left until the ban of new petrol and diesel vehicles. You will only be able to buy second-hand diesel and petrol vehicles in 8 years' time, as all dealerships will only be able to sell new electric vehicles. When I say electric vehicles, I mean electric cars or electric vans or things like that. You will still be able to buy petrol motorcycles up until 2035, unless of course the law changes. Now, so far in Lincoln I've been told that there are 57 charging points, although I've only been able to find 12 of those charging points. I'm guessing the others must be in, I don't know, office car parks. But in the next 8 years, the infrastructure really needs to change. there's just not enough charging points available. And of course, for me, there is absolutely no way that I'm going to be able to afford one of these new electric cars. And these new electric motorcycles really don't look up to it to me. I was recently looking at one of the cheap Chinese motorcycles. It was about £4,000. It had a top speed of 60 miles an hour, as it was one of these 125cc equivalents, and it could do 60 miles on its range. But when you really looked into it, if you were doing 60 miles an hour, your range was only 30 miles. To get the 60 miles range, you would have to travel at 25 to 30 miles an hour. Well, for me, those sort of specs don't really work. And then of course, there's the Harley Davidson Livewire, £30,000 worth, but again, will only get you 100 miles. This old BMW motorcycle I'm riding here would quite easily take me across the United Kingdom. In fact, many people have been around the world on a BMW Boxer. I mean, I can quite easily ride 300 miles and then stop at a petrol station and fill up for take me about 5 minutes. With this new Harley Davidson Livewire, only has a 100-mile range. I'm guessing every 70 miles you've got to find yourself somewhere to stop and plug it in, and then you've got to wait an hour before you can continue your journey. Now, there's also a government think tank at the moment. Because the infrastructure won't be in place, although they don't think it'll be in place, let's put it that way, they would like to see more people walking, cycling, or better still, using public transport. You know, like buses or trains. Well, that's all very well if you live in a big city where there's a bus every 5 minutes. But where I live, buses are very few and far between. Now, a few years back, I used to work in Lincoln. My hours were 7 o'clock till 4 o'clock. So I would have to leave my house at 6 o'clock in the morning to get to work for 7. Now, at this moment in time, the first bus passes my house at 9 o'clock, which meant if I caught the bus, I wouldn't get there till 10 o'clock, which is like 3 hours after I would have started. So really catching a bus is a no-no for me. So, you know, public transport wouldn't have helped me at all. So this is why I use a car or a motorcycle to get around, because I live out here in the middle of nowhere. So for somebody like me, public transport doesn't work. Then what other options are open for me? Well, walking. Can you really see me walking down these roads 6 o'clock in the morning? In fact, I'd have to leave earlier. I'd have to leave at possibly 3 o'clock in the morning to walk all that way. Or maybe even I could actually cycle. If I'd cycle, it'd take me a couple of hours, so I'd have to leave about 5 o'clock in the morning and cycle down all these lonely roads in all weathers. I don't think that would work neither. So I guess I could change jobs and work from home, perhaps. Would that work? Maybe the only option for me is to actually save up for one of these electric motorcycles, because there's no way I can afford one of these electric cars. And yes, I know we've all got to do our bit to save the planet, to get these carbon emissions down, to be carbon neutral. But the thing is, European countries have started to do this. Now, many years ago, I rode across Nigeria on an old Honda XL 185. Now, I could ride into some of these remote Nigerian towns where there was no electric, but I could still get petrol. They used to sell it from 45-gallon drums that was hand pumped, and they would fill up your tank for several naira. And there are still people in Nigeria and all over Africa, in fact, who don't have electric, who rely on fossil fuels. Their power stations still use coal. I can't really see the African nations giving up their petrol and diesel vehicles like we are going to. You can quite see it in a few years' time that we are all having to use public transport or walk and cycle everywhere, whereas people in the developing nations like Africa will all still be using their motorcycles and their battered old Datsuns, shall we call them, to drive about in. And their power stations will still be pouring out lots of deadly carbon emissions. You know, this save the planet thing doesn't work unless every single country abides by it, but the infrastructure isn't there for all these other countries. I really don't know what the answer is. But what I do know is this country is going all electric at the minute. It's electric this and electric that. Even new build houses must have an electric charging point for a vehicle, and they must also have an electric boiler. Yes, gas boilers are no longer going to be fitted to new houses. Now, isn't this putting all your eggs into one basket? A few weeks ago we had a really bad storm here in the United Kingdom. I think it's called Storm Barra, where there was 120-mile-an-hour winds and heavy snow showers, especially up round Scotland way, and many towns and villages had their electric cut off for 10 days. So what happens to your electric car then when you can't charge it? In fact, what happens to your home when you have no electric? Of course, those people which had gas and electric in their homes were still able to heat their homes and cook. But the people with electric only were in a huge trouble. Lots of them had to be moved into local schools which had gas heating so they could stay warm, and food was provided for them. So I don't know what the answer is. I think putting all your eggs in one basket is very, very dangerous indeed. Now, if we look through, I don't know, history over the years, many other fuels have been used to power vehicles with. Certainly in Brazil, they used alcohol to power vehicles. So maybe that would be best for us. Maybe that's what I should do. I should set up a still in my garage start brewing moonshine that I can run my bike on my car. Or maybe even buy one of those Royal Enfield diesels. Yes, Royal Enfield used to make a diesel-powered motorcycle, and I could perhaps power that on vegetable oil. I think even Henry Ford's Model T could be run on alcohol. So why is there this big craze on electric vehicles at the moment? I don't know, but it certainly is something to think about. So yes, there's going to be huge changes in the next, I don't know, 10 to 20 years. And who knows if it'll be for the better or not. Maybe it'll work. Let's hope that the people in power know what they're doing. Right, now like I was saying, this is going to be possibly my last ride for a while. I don't know, 2 months, maybe a bit longer. I'm going to wait until we get some decent weather, get rid of all this cold stuff. Perhaps when we get into the spring, I'll bring the old bike back out again and we'll do some more Motovlogs. And hopefully this deadly coronavirus may be a bit milder by then as well, and perhaps we can get to some more classic car and classic motorcycle shows. I know I did a few last year, managed to get a few in at the end of the year, but there were still lots of different shows that I'd missed, lots that were cancelled due to the coronavirus. So hopefully this year they'll all be back on again. I don't know. I'm hoping so. It'll give us something to do and some more videos to make. Okay, so we're approaching my local garage now. Although I say it's local, it's actually, I don't know, 7 or 8 miles from where I live. So I think I shall be stopping the video here whilst I pump some gasoline, shall we say. Now, I've said I'm going to stop making these motovlogs or these motorcycling videos for a while, but I shall still be putting on other videos, of course. I think I've got several demolition videos to make over the next few months. And of course, there's the car shows and the motorcycles shows as well that will be coming up. So even though there'll be no motorcycling videos for a bit, well, not until the weather warms up anyway, but we shall still be making videos, so hopefully there'll be something interesting for you to watch. So, as usual, I'd like to thank you all for watching, and we shall see you all soon in the next video. Now, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. Right then, everybody out there in YouTube land, please stay safe, and we shall see you all soon.